Early morning light spread across Fort Ridge Military Base, turning the dry sand a bright gold color. Soldiers were already awake, shouting orders and lining up for training. The air smelled of dust, gun oil, and strong coffee. Today was not an ordinary day. A secret drill was planned, and the entire base waited with both fear and excitement. But no one knew that the real surprise of the day was not about new soldiers or a new weapon. It was about an old man everyone ignored. His name was Henry Turner. Everyone on the base called him the Old Cleaner. He wore a red jumpsuit, faded and patched in many places. His beard was long, white, and messy. His steps were slow, but there was something strange in the way he walked. His eyes moved fast, like he was studying everything, but no one noticed this. To the soldiers, he was just the man who cleaned floors and emptied trash. Some even joked about him. "Look, Grandpa Janitor," they laughed. Henry never responded. He only smiled softly and continued his work. But today, something unusual was happening with him. As he swept the floor outside the shooting range, his hands shook a little. Not from age, but from memory. Every sound of a rifle being checked, every click of a magazine, made his heart beat faster. He looked at the range and quickly looked away, like he was hiding a secret. Suddenly, an armored truck rolled into the base. Dust exploded behind its tires. A loud voice shouted, "Navy SEALs arriving! Stand at attention." Every soldier immediately stopped talking and stood tall. The truck door opened, and out stepped Lieutenant Cole Hayes. He looked powerful, with broad shoulders and sharp eyes behind black glasses. Everyone knew his name. A war hero, a legend. Behind him came Sergeant Mason and 6 more SEALs, all strong and confident. They were here for a special shooting test. High level. Difficult. Only the best soldiers were allowed to watch. Henry moved closer to pick up trash from the ground. He tried not to stare, but something forced his eyes forward. He looked at the rifles the SEALs carried. Deadly, accurate weapons. His breathing changed. His fingers curled, as if wanting to hold one again. One young soldier noticed Henry standing too close. "Hey, old man! Move back before you get hurt!" Henry stepped away quickly and nodded. But when he turned, Cole caught a glimpse of his face. There was a sharp intensity in Henry's eyes. Cole frowned. Why did an old cleaner look like a soldier who had seen too much? Training began. The SEALs took positions. Soldiers watched in silence. Sergeant Mason yelled, "Targets up!" Black silhouettes popped into view far down the range. The SEALs lifted their rifles at the same time. Bang! 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 Loud gunfire echoed across the sand. Every bullet hit perfectly in the center. The watching soldiers were amazed. But Henry did not look amazed. He looked annoyed. He whispered under his breath, "Too easy. Try wind shots." Cole heard that. He turned and looked directly at Henry. Who was this man? Henry bent down to pick a dropped bullet casing. His hand grabbed it fast, too fast for his age. Cole noticed again. He walked closer. Henry stood up straight, and for a second, his posture changed. His back straightened like a trained soldier. Then he quickly relaxed, pretending again to be weak. Cole stepped right in front of him. "What's your name?" he asked. "Henry. Henry Turner, sir," the old man replied quietly. "How long have you been here?" Cole asked. "Long enough to clean every corner of this base," Henry answered with a small smile. Cole stared into his eyes. There was history there. Dark history, pain, courage, things only warriors carried. Cole suddenly picked up his rifle from the table and handed it to Henry. Everyone gasped. "Sir, why give that to him?" Mason asked angrily, but Cole did not respond. He kept his eyes on Henry. Henry stepped back, shaking his head. "No, I should not. I am just a cleaner." But Cole took a step closer and spoke in a low, firm voice. "This is not a request." Henry touched the rifle like it was something holy. The moment his fingers wrapped around the grip, the entire world seemed to stop. His bent back straightened again. His old hands moved with surprising strength. He checked the chamber. He aligned the sights. Every movement was fast, perfect. The soldiers around him stared in disbelief. Henry lifted the rifle to his shoulder. His eyes locked on the farthest target, one nobody dared to shoot because it was almost invisible in the distance. "Old man, what are you doing?" One soldier laughed, but Henry did not hear him. His breathing slowed. His finger rested gently on the trigger. The wind blew dust across the range, but Henry adjusted his aim without thinking. He whispered a number. "Wind calculation, bang!" The bullet flew like lightning. A half-second later, ping! The farthest target shook direct hit. Perfect center. Everyone's eyes widened. No one spoke. Even Cole's mouth opened slightly in shock. Henry lowered the rifle, giving it back to Cole without a word. He picked up his cleaning cart and turned away. "Thank you for letting me hold it, sir," he said calmly. As he walked, Cole noticed something inside Henry's old jumpsuit pocket. A shiny metal. With a broken chain. Not a normal medal. A Medal of Honor. Cole froze. That was a medal only true American heroes received. Why would a man like that be cleaning floors? Cole whispered to himself, "Who are you?" But Henry did not turn back. He just kept walking, leaving a trail of questions behind him. Questions darker than war. One thing was now clear to everyone watching. This old cleaner was not ordinary. He was a warrior, a legend, hiding in plain sight, and his secret was only just beginning to return. Tonight, Lieutenant Cole stood frozen, still looking at the far target where the bullet had landed perfectly in the center. The soldiers around him had their mouths wide open, unable to believe what they just saw. They had been training for months, yet not one of them could make that shot. And the man who did it? A cleaner with white hair and a mop. Cole looked down at the rifle in his hand. He had given it to Henry only as a small test, but the result was far beyond anything he imagined. The old man had held the weapon like a true warrior, like a man who had been trained for battle, like someone who once lived on the front lines. Sergeant Mason moved beside Cole, whispering angrily, "Sir, this is dangerous. He should not be allowed near weapons." Cole didn't reply. Instead, he looked in the direction Henry had walked away. The old cleaner was back to sweeping the ground like nothing special had happened. Like hitting the hardest target was just normal for him. Something didn't add up. Cole marched toward Henry. The soldiers watched silently, still shocked. Cole stopped right behind him and said firmly, "Mr. Turner, please come back to the range." Henry paused. His shoulders tensed a little. He slowly turned around, his face calm but his eyes wary. "Lieutenant, I did what you asked. Now I must finish my duty." Cole stepped closer. "That shot you made, it was no accident." Henry shook his head. "Sir, I used to know some things, but that was long ago." Cole's voice hardened. "You executed a perfect wind shot on a moving target at maximum distance. That is not some things. That is expert level." He leaned forward. "Who trained you?" Henry stayed silent. Mason joined in, crossing his arms. "Answer the question. Army? Marines? Rangers?" He paused, eyes narrowing. "Special Forces?" Henry's expression changed slightly, but only for a moment. Then he smiled politely. "I am just a cleaner now, Sergeant." Cole studied him carefully. This man was hiding something big. He wanted answers, and he was going to get them. "Mr. Turner, come with me," Cole ordered. Henry sighed but followed. All the soldiers watched the two walk back to the range. Whispers spread like wind. "Who is he? How did he do that? He's not just a janitor." Cole put the rifle back into Henry's hands. "Show us again," he demanded. Henry looked tired. "Sir, I do not want trouble. I only want to work in peace." Cole stepped forward, staring directly into Henry's eyes. "If you were truly just a cleaner, you would have missed." Henry breathed out slowly, like someone carrying a heavy load in his heart. "I told myself I would never hold a rifle again," he whispered. Cole softened his tone. "Why?" Henry didn't answer. Mason blew his whistle. "Set a harder target," he commanded. The range crew moved a new target far into the distance, almost invisible. A moving target, swinging side to side. The soldiers watching were both excited and nervous. Cole spoke again. "Hit that target and answer one question. Who are you?" Henry stared at the moving silhouette. He didn't want this, but his body remembered. He slowly lifted the rifle. The soldiers held their breath. His old fingers tightened around the weapon. His eyes locked on the target. His stance changed. He looked decades younger. Then, bang! The bullet flew across the long distance. Ping! Direct hit again. Gasps erupted. "Holy!" one soldier shouted. Another whispered, "That's impossible." Cole's heart pounded. He was witnessing something extraordinary. Henry lowered the rifle and handed it back. "Now, please let me go back to my work," he said, voice low and almost broken. But Cole wasn't finished. He blocked Henry's path. "You were someone important. You fought in wars. You protected this country. Why hide like this?" Henry slowly lifted his eyes, and for the first time Cole saw real pain inside them. "I was a sniper," Henry said quietly. "A long time ago. My mission was to end lives. Too many lives. I lost my team, my friends, my brothers." He swallowed hard. "I promised myself never to touch a gun again. Never. Never to touch a gun again. Never." The entire base grew silent. Even Mason looked unsure now. Cole stepped back respectfully. "You saved men too," he said. "Snipers protect their team." Henry shook his head. "Some things never leave the mind. Some nights never end." His voice cracked. "I left the battlefield, but the battlefield did not leave me." The soldiers felt chills. This was not just a cleaner. This was a man who had lived through hell. Cole thought for a moment. Then he said, Mr. Turner, I want you to train my men. Henry looked shocked. No, I can't, Cole insisted. They need someone like you. Someone who knows real war. Mason stepped forward. Sir, we don't even know if he is cleared by command. Cole ignored him again. Henry tried to walk away, but Cole said something that forced him to stop. Your country still needs you. Henry froze. Those words echoed deep inside him. In places he had locked away for years. He didn't turn, but his voice trembled. I am not that man anymore. Cole spoke softly. Yes, you are. We all saw it. Henry's eyes grew wet. He looked at the ground, his shoulders heavy with memories. Suddenly, a loud alarm went off. Sirens screamed across the base. Red lights flashed everywhere. An emergency alert. A drone flew overhead, sending a video feed to a big screen. Soldiers quickly huddled around it. They saw a group of armed men approaching the base from the hills. Heavily armed, dangerous, Mason shouted, "This is a threat! Everyone to defense stations!" Chaos erupted as soldiers grabbed weapons and took positions. Cole looked at Henry. Henry stood perfectly still, staring at the screen. His calmness was different this time. The battlefield inside him had awakened. Cole asked in a low voice, "Can you help us?" Henry slowly turned his head, and when he spoke, his voice was no longer the voice of a cleaner. It was the voice of a soldier, fearless and ready. "Tell me where you want them to fall." Cole handed him the rifle without a second thought. The legend had returned. The alarm continued to scream across Fort Ridge military base as soldiers rushed to their positions. Dust rose as boots hit the dirt, and shouts filled the air. The calm morning turned into sudden chaos. The soldiers looked scared but ready. They had trained for this, but real danger always felt different. Henry Turner stood still for a second, gripping the rifle Cole had given him. His old eyes focused on the hills shown on the screen. Armed men were getting closer. Their movements were fast and well-planned. This was real. Lieutenant Cole Hayes gave orders to his SEAL team, and they moved to defend the base. Sergeant Mason pushed the younger soldiers into defensive lines. Everyone had a job. Everyone except Henry. But Henry already knew where he belonged. Cole turned to him. "We will stop them," he said. "But I need your eyes. Help us find their weak spots." Henry nodded. He took a step forward, the rifle held in perfect position. His body language changed. He was no longer the quiet cleaner. He was a soldier awakened. The attackers began firing from distance. Soldiers shot back but struggled to see where the attackers hid. Dust made aiming hard. Henry scanned the hills. "There," he whispered. Cole followed his line of sight. A hidden shooter behind a rock. Before Cole could speak, Henry fired. The enemy shooter dropped instantly. Soldiers stared again. They felt safe with him there. More bullets flew. Henry moved to a better angle without being told. He fired again. Another enemy fell, and another Cole watched with growing respect. Henry's presence changed the battlefield. The soldiers trusted him. Mason stared like he was watching a ghost. "Sir," he whispered to Cole, "he is not normal." Cole replied, "He is a warrior." A sudden explosion hit near the west fence, knocking soldiers down. Henry rushed to help. He checked injuries fast. "You can still fight," he told a soldier. "How do you know so much?" the soldier asked. Henry said, "Experience." More enemy fighters appeared. Cole noticed Henry reading the enemy's plan. Every time Henry called a direction, the attackers tried that spot next. Cole yelled, "Tell us where they're going to push!" Henry pointed near a supply tent. "There, they think you left it weak." Cole reinforced the area. The attackers failed. Henry spotted a man with a radio giving orders. "Take out the commander," Henry said. Cole fired but missed. Henry adjusted and fired. The target dropped. The enemy began retreating. But silence followed only for a moment. A second wave appeared, bigger, stronger, heavily armed. Mason cursed. "Where did they come from?" Cole's voice shook. "We can't hold this much longer." Henry stayed calm, his voice cold. "This is not about the base. They came for someone." Cole looked confused. "Who?" Henry didn't answer. He fired again, hitting an enemy. Then a bullet struck Henry's shoulder. He dropped the rifle, stumbled, and grabbed his arm. Blood soaked his sleeve. Cole rushed to him. "Medic!" Henry picked the rifle up with his other hand. "I'm fine," he said. Cole tried to stop him. "You're hurt!" Henry stood tall. A veteran does not stop while his brothers are in danger. The enemy pushed closer. Henry limped forward, still firing. Each shot helped the soldiers push forward, too. Cole shouted, "Follow him! Protect him!" Henry looked through the scope. Despite pain, he saw the enemy commander trying to escape. Henry whispered, "Not today." Bang! The commander fell. The attackers panicked. They dropped weapons and ran back into the hills. Silence. The base was safe. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Many looked at Henry with deep respect. Cole put a hand on his shoulder. "You saved everyone." Henry looked at the battlefield. Smoke rose. Bodies lay still. Memories returned like ghosts. He breathed slow. "I did what I promised I would never do again," he said. Cole nodded. "You did what needed to be done." Henry walked toward the barracks, blood dripping from his arm. Soldiers moved aside respectfully. Inside him, a war was waking up again. And he knew this was only the beginning. But questions burned in his mind. Who were these attackers? How did they reach a secured military zone without warning? Why did they fight like trained operatives? Henry felt the answer was tied to his own past. In the barracks, he sat alone. His shoulder hurt, but the pain inside his heart was worse. He had spent years hiding from the world, believing he could bury the soldier he once was. But today proved he could not escape who he was. He remembered a promise he made long ago. To his team, to his country, to a friend he lost. A promise he failed once. A promise he feared facing again. Cole entered. "Sir, whoever those men were, they wanted you. We found documents on one of the bodies. Your name was written." Henry said nothing. His face turned pale. Cole continued. "Can you tell me why?" Henry looked at him with tired eyes. "Not yet, but I will. Because this is bigger than both of us." Outside, soldiers cleaned the battlefield and counted injuries. Everyone thought the danger was gone. But Henry knew better. There is always a second plan. A darker one. Night began to fall. The base lights flickered on. The air smelled like smoke and fear. Soldiers whispered stories of Henry's brave stand. They called him a hero, but Henry did not feel like a hero. He felt like a target, and targets never rest. Then his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. One sentence. "We found you, Ghost." Henry's blood ran cold. His past had returned. He stood up, gripping the rifle again. The war inside him was awake, and the real enemy was still out there, watching. The next battle would decide everything. The soldier was back. Henry stared at the phone in his hand. The message was short, but it hit him like a bullet. "We found you, Ghost." Ghost. That was his old code name. A name only his past enemies knew. A name he hoped to bury forever. He locked the phone screen and placed it slowly on the table. His fingers shook slightly. He had survived the first attack. But this message told him one thing. It was not over. Lieutenant Cole entered the small room. "How bad is the wound?" he asked, pointing to Henry's shoulder. Henry pulled the bandage tighter. "It will heal," he answered quietly. Cole sat across from him. "I need answers. Why was your name in their mission files?" Henry closed his eyes for a moment. He looked tired, as if the weight of many years was suddenly on his shoulders again. "A long time ago," Henry began, "I worked in a special sniper unit. We fought dangerous men, leaders of criminal armies, spies, traitors. One mission went wrong. My entire team died. Only I survived. The enemy named me Ghost because I disappeared." Cole listened closely, understanding the danger. "So these attackers, they want revenge." Henry nodded. "Revenge lasts longer than war, and they think killing me will close old wounds." Cole leaned forward. "Then we stop them. Together." Henry looked at Cole with a small smile. "You are a good leader. Your men respect you. That means everything." Before Cole could answer, the alarm suddenly buzzed again, this time only in their room. A private alert, a drone camera appeared live on the screen. Someone was inside the base. The camera zoomed in. A masked figure walked calmly, wearing a black uniform with no symbols. He carried a small device in one hand and a suppressed pistol in the other. Every step was quiet and controlled. He wasn't here to attack the base. He was here for one man. Henry. Cole stood up and loaded his weapon. "Stay here. I'll handle him." Henry stopped him with a firm hand. His eyes sharpened, cold and focused. Henry stopped him with a firm hand. His eyes sharpened, cold and focused. "This one is mine." He picked up his rifle and stepped outside. The hallways were silent, lit only by dim emergency lights. Henry's footsteps were slow but steady as he moved through the shadows. A noise, metal scraping gently. Henry pressed his back against the wall and peeked around the corner. The masked man was waiting, holding the device. He smiled under his mask. Henry walked into view. "So, you finally show yourself," Henry said. The masked man tilted his head. "We have waited many years to finish this." "Ghost!" Henry raised his rifle. "Not today." But the assassin laughed softly. "You think this is about revenge? No." He lifted the device, pressing a button. Screens in the hallway lit up. A face appeared. A woman. Her eyes were the same shade as Henry's. Henry froze. His heart seemed to stop. The masked man spoke again, voice darker now. "We have someone who belongs to you," the woman on the screen whispered, voice filled with fear. "Dad, please help me." Henry's rifle almost slipped from his hands. "Lily?" His daughter. Alive. Captured. The screen cut to black. The masked man stepped backward into the shadows and vanished, leaving only a single message echoing in Henry's mind. "Come find us, Ghost, if you want to see her again." Henry fell to his knees, shock and fear mixing inside him. Cole rushed toward him. "What happened?" Henry looked up, tears forming, rage growing. "They took my daughter." He slowly stood, gripping the rifle tight. "I'm coming for her." The legend wasn't just back. He now had a reason to fight. Henry stared at the dark night sky above the base. His daughter was alive, taken, hidden somewhere in the shadows of his past. He clenched his fists, feeling strength he thought he lost long ago. Cole stepped beside him. "We will get her back," he promised. Henry nodded slowly, eyes filled with fire. "This time," he whispered, "I am not running." The old cleaner was gone. The warrior had returned. Henry picked up his rifle, his true identity rising again. Ghost was ready. His mission was clear. His enemies had awakened the wrong man. The end